which is a members' business debate on motion 14922 in the name of Karen Adam on celebrating One Parent Families Scotland 80th anniversary. This debate will be concluded without any questions being put, and I would invite those members who would wish to speak in the debate. Please press the request to speak buttons, and I call on Karen Adam to open the debate. Around 7 minutes, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. But before I begin, I want to take a moment to recognise the work of my colleague Stephanie Callaghan, MSP, on this issue and thank her for the opportunity to lead this debate. And I wish to also congratulate One Parent Families Scotland on an extraordinary milestone, 80 years of dedicated service to single-parent families. This anniversary not only marks the longevity of a vital charity, but it is a celebration of its unwavering commitment to empowering single parents to realise their full potential. As we gather to commend the incredible work this organisation has done, I move to reflect on the realities faced by so many single parents across our nation. For many of us, myself included, this is not just a policy discussion, it's personal. And I know firsthand the struggles that come with raising a family on your own. I've lived the long nights when you finally tuck the children into bed, and that's when the day's tasks actually begin. There's no passing of the baton, there's no partner to lean on when the weight of it all becomes too much. You're juggling bedtime stories and bills, school pickups and work commitments, and the burden is never shared. It is from this place of experience and empathy that I speak today. I've been that parent in the quiet home where exhaustion can sit heavy, but the to-do list never seems to end. And I know the anxiety from the past that can grip you when an unexpected expense comes up, or when you think about how you'll manage tomorrow's demands. The truth is, single parents wear many hats, and they wear them all at once. Sole provider, caretaker, chef, taxi driver, financial planner, and so much more. And for this, they deserve our deepest admiration and not judgment or stigma. One Parent Families Scotland has dedicated 80 years to breaking down these stigmas and creating more understanding and a compassionate society. From its early days as the Scottish Council for the Unmarried Mother and her Child, founded to keep mothers and their children together, to its modern incarnation, offering a wide range of life-changing services. This charity has remained a lifeline for so many, whether through their family centres in Dundee, Edinburgh, Falkirk, Glasgow and North Lanarkshire, or through their national lone parent helpline and digital services. They provide essential support that empowers parents and uplifts families. The impact of this support cannot be overstated. The charity employs 97 dedicated staff members who give their all to ensure that over 8,000 parents, children and young people are supported each year. Nearly 4,000 families have received vital welfare rights and financial advice, collectively benefiting from financial gains exceeding £1.6 million. This is transformative work, and that enables single parents to breathe a little easier and to focus more on their children and less on the stress of making ends meet. Yet we know that for every success story, there are thousands of parents still struggling. 1 in 4 families with children in Scotland are single-parent households, with a staggering 90% of these led by women. Gender inequality remains a persistent force, compounding the challenges these families face. Society has made progress since the 1940s, thank goodness, but we must recognise that the burden and shame that single parents, particularly single mothers, continue to bear is deeply rooted in outdated societal attitudes. So let's talk about that stigma. Too often single parents are met with judgment instead of support. Society can be harsh with perceptions that make an already difficult path even more isolating. The shame and misconceptions placed on single parents are unfair and unfounded. They are warriors deserving of our respect and practical support, not whispered assumptions about their worth. The work of One Parent Families Scotland is crucial, not just because they offer practical support, but because they do so with compassion and understanding of the reality that single parents face. They are tireless advocates pushing for systemic changes to end the widespread poverty that so many experience. And their services are not only practical, but life-affirming, helping parents to find employment, supporting young parents and providing the guidance needed to navigate complex welfare systems. For those who have never experienced this struggle, it might be easy to underestimate the sheer strength it takes to do what some single parents do every day. And it's not just about surviving, but it's about thriving for the children's sake. They create homes filled with love, opportunity and security, often despite overwhelming odds. This charity's legacy is built on the resilience and strength of the families it serves. Almost a quarter of households that are single-parent families, and one-parent family support has been there every step of the way, advocating at every level of government to create lasting solutions to poverty. This advocacy, combined with tangible support, has empowered countless parents to move from crisis to stability. I take my hat off to every single parent. I see you. I know the sacrifices and the relentless hard work and the sleepless nights. You deserve our praise and unyielding support, and you deserve a society that lifts you up instead of trying to pull you down. In closing, I extend my deepest gratitude to One Parent Families Scotland for an incredible 80 years of service. Thank you for your advocacy, for your compassion and for ensuring that single parents are never alone in their journey. Let us honour this anniversary, not just with words of congratulations, but with continued action and commitment to creating a Scotland that truly supports all families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Adam. We will now move to the open debate. Speeches of up to 4 minutes. I call Emma Roddick to be followed by Ros McCall. Ms Roddick.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I want to first thank Karen Adam for securing this debate slot and allowing MSPs to join her in celebrating One Parent Families' 80th birthday. Her motion describes One Parent Families Scotland as performing tireless advocacy, and that is absolutely right. It is very difficult to miss representations from the organisation whenever this Parliament discusses social security or parental support. It is visible, consistent and true to the aims of supporting single parents in Scotland. I think Karen Adams' children are very lucky to have her, but I congratulate her and recognise that she's able to share how difficult it is to be that one parent sitting and feeling alone. I was raised in a one-parent household from the age of 4. My mum had a good job, but she also had 2 kids. And it's only with the benefit of hindsight and adulthood that I realise the difficulties I would have presented her when I complained at different ages to her about not having a brother, being left at after-school clubs because she left for work at 8 and got home at 6:30, and wanting to go to Disney in the summer. She didn't complain about these comments, but I am sorry now for being a child and saying childish things. But the thing is, you don't understand when you are a child why you don't get what you want, why your pal got more toys from Santa even though you did the hoovering, or why the popular folks are wearing Ugg boots and holding new phones and you're not. And that must be such a lot of pressure on any parent, especially so when the state seems to turn its back on those under the most pressure and their struggles, removing the little support that allows them to provide their kids with the basics. One Parent Families Scotland has, of course, been extremely clear, like the SNP, in its opposition to the 2-child cap on benefits. Back in 2017, when the cuts to child tax credits were first made by the Conservatives, the move was described in this Parliament as too far. The Labour amendment to the government motion, voted through with the support of government, included the line, "Further condemns any government that forces women to relive a horrific event in their lives to access social security for a 3rd child." And here we are 7 years later, and it's a Labour government that we must condemn for forcing women to relive horrific events, for pushing children across the UK into poverty, and for rebranding and relaunching this policy, which is too far and too cruel, as a Labour one. This Labour government policy, as it now is, given the party has failed to take the opportunity of writing its own budget to remove the cruel and unfair cap, is keeping children in poverty. It is making life harder for single-parent families, costing them up to £3,235 a year per child, and it is indefensible. Any government that forces women to relive a horrific event in their lives to access social security for a 3rd child should be condemned. Labour should listen to one-parent families Scotland, families across the UK and the former Labour MPs who refuse to back the policy, and do the right thing for the hundreds of thousands of children they are consigning to poverty and confusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Roddick. I now call Ros McCall to be followed by Martin Whitfield. Ms McCall.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I would also like to begin by thanking Karen Adams for bringing this debate to the Chamber this afternoon. And I also want to go on record to say thank you to Karen for such a very open, honest and frank opening speech for this debate. I congratulate one-parent families on their 80th anniversary. We've just heard from Karen Adams a fantastic run of what they do. One-parent families was founded as far back as the 1940s, and it has since grown into a major Scottish charity with an income over £2 million in 22-23. It provides family support services, employability services and welfare rights advice, as well as campaigning on prominent campaigns such as ending the so-called young parent penalty within the welfare system. I acknowledge that most of the work is on and around the financial implications and monetary support available, and that most of the lobbying is on additional financial funding. But it would be remiss of me not to highlight the excellent work done by One Parent Families Scotland to support lone parents in ways to engage and parent their child. Knowing how to communicate with your child when the other parent does something differently, or how to balance the effects of an absentee parent on a child, how to ensure a safe and secure environment is always there for a child when really at times it seems it's not. These are all issues plaguing all parents, but achieving this as a lone parent is a mammoth task. Without proper support in the right way, many single parents are caught up in a vicious cycle of ever-decreasing possibilities. I know also the poverty-proofing for families in or on the edge of care report, which produced in conjunction with the Promise Scotland back in August 2023. And we're now nearing the midway point of the promise, and I fear without a renewed push that it may not be fulfilled, and I look forward to the debate tomorrow, especially if we don't come to terms with the link between one-parent families, child poverty, and what happens to family finances when children are unable to live at home. The report considers the financial impact in this scenario, and it highlights that there is an extremely detrimental impact of poverty on a family when a child enters care, and if they return from care, and a related gap in policy resources and service delivery. If a family relies on social security benefits, family poverty is likely to be precipitated and/or exacerbated when the child is taken into care. Yes, we can and we should do more to look at how and when benefits are provided, but we will also do more to ensure that families are not solely reliant on social security in the first place. I know from my involvement with the Social Security and Social Justice Committee and our work on barriers to parental employment that limited options for increasing income from employment. There's a lack of childcare options, of transport flexibility and greater impacts of conditionality within the social security system. These are all issues which hit single-parent households and result in 38% of children in one-parent households living in relative poverty. We simply cannot keep ignoring the barriers to helping people help themselves. We must do more to acknowledge the problem and find solutions. 1140 hours childcare is a great proposal, but failings in the implementation has meant that local childcare offering isn't suitable to sustain a full-time job. That needs to change. Changes and cuts to local transport services mean it's simply not possible for many people to get to work on time, especially when inoperable childcare proposals are factored in. That needs to change. It's imperative we move the dial, make changes in our structures to support single parents, not only to look after their child in the best way, but financially too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms McCall. I now call Martin Whitfield to be followed by Michael Chapman. Mr Whitfield.
I'm very grateful, Deputy Presiding Officer. And like others, and rightly, can I thank Karen Adam for bringing this remarkable debate here tonight, and also thank those who join us in the public gallery and remotely to watch, because it is a pleasure to join colleagues to celebrate a remarkable 80th anniversary of One Parent Families Scotland. a charity that's been a beacon of hope and support for countless single-parent families across our nation. For 8 decades, the organisation has dedicated itself to ensuring that single parents and their children have the resource, the guidance, the advocacy they need to thrive in an ever-changing world. One Parent Families Scotland began its journey at a time when society turned a blind eye to the struggle of single parents. Founded in the 1940s, the mission was simple yet profound: keep families together. Provide the vital support to unmarried mothers, a phrase taken from its original name, to keep their children at a time when they faced significant societal stigma and hardship. And fast forward to today, and the compassion that's blossomed into a wide-reaching network of family services that touch the lives of thousands of families throughout Scotland, but families that still live under that stigma today. What makes One Parent Families Scotland truly special is their unwavering commitment to the holistic family care. They understand that single parents face a unique set of challenges. Imagine the mother juggling work while ensuring her children are safe and cared for, often feeling overwhelmed and isolated, or the father returning after work still to find time to help with homework, prepare dinner, and all the while worrying about making ends meet. This is the reality for many single parents today, who often find themselves bearing the burden of the financial strain, the emotional stress, and also the societal pressure all at once. And through their family support programmes, young parent initiatives, welfare rights advocacy, the financial guidance, One Parent Families Scotland provides not just advice, but a lifeline, empowering parents to build better futures for themselves and their children, not just offering services, but offering that hope, offering that sense of community. The charity's work is vital in breaking down the barriers, ensuring that single parents have access to the support that they need and to navigate the very, very complex ways their lives have developed. Today, families across Scotland face unprecedented pressures: the living costs rising, the impact of austerity, the ongoing challenges stemming from a pandemic that have made life particularly tough for single-parent households. Many grapple with the increasing cost of childcare, housing, living expenses. One Parent Families Scotland is at the forefront of addressing these issues, and their campaigns of Make the Case, Better Off Universal Credit are vital in amplifying the voices of families and the tireless fight for the financial support that many single parents so desperately need, advocating for the policies that will alleviate the burdens that they carry. But at the heart of this charity are the stories of real people, parents who face each day with a resilience and a determination. One mother recently shared how the support she received from One Parent Families helped her navigate an emotional turmoil of separation, providing not just the practical advice, but again the community that understood that struggle. Each of them has a story to tell, a story that's filled with struggle, but also stories that are filled with triumph, because One Parent Families Scotland stands beside them, offering the practical assistance, but also a listening ear and a compassionate heart. In closing, let us celebrate the 80 years of One Parent Families Scotland, but also renew our commitment to supporting single-parent families across Scotland, because together we can continue to build a future where every family has the opportunity to thrive, nurtured by a community that cares. And it is our responsibility as policymakers, as community members, as fellow citizens to ensure that single parents are not left to face these challenges alone. Because if we stand together, if we advocate for change and we work towards a society where every family can flourish. I'm grateful, Deputy Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Mr Whitfield. And I now call Maggie Chapman to be followed by Rona Mackay. Ms Chapman.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I thank Karen Adam for her motion, for her opening remarks earlier, and for securing this important debate. I join with her and this chamber in congratulating One Parent Families Scotland on its anniversary and its wonderful work. For any family can become a one-parent family. Some are planned that way, and I hold great respect and admiration for those who are able to take on that commitment alone. But others never have the chance to be anything else. Most one-parent families were once two-parent families, partners who expected to share the joys and tribulations of making a home, caring for their children, and watching them grow in a world of change and crisis. Whatever happened to change that, whether a long process or a sudden tragedy, whether separation or bereavement, it could happen to any family of any size with children of any age. One Parent Family Scotland stands for those parents, whatever their experience, of loss, of grief, of abuse, of isolation or of poverty. Its services, including those in Dundee, offer help with the practical challenges of being a parent alone, of work and childcare, of housing and energy, of health and well-being. It brings parents together in interest groups where they can share not only gardening, cooking or walking, but experiences, support and empowerment. And nationally, One Parent Family Scotland speaks with a voice of expertise, the expertise of real experience in its research, policy and campaigns, building, as it says, a vital bridge between single parents and decision makers. That bridge is needed more than ever. Every one of the blows which fall on the people of Scotland, those oppressions which we name as though they were natural events, the housing emergency, the cost of living crisis, each falls most heavily on the shoulders of one-parent families, especially if, as is usually the case, that one parent is a woman. As Karen Adams' motion notes, One Parent Family Scotland began in 1944 as the Scottish Council for the Unmarried Mother and her Child. We can all imagine why it was needed. But are we really doing any better now? The two-child limit, with its crude and baseless assumptions, the daily stigma of means-tested school meals, the failure to make childcare and public transport affordable and accessible, last week's decision to sacrifice effective rent controls to the landlord lobby. These policies punish single mothers and their children just as cruelly as any wartime disapproval. I share the warm congratulations extended to One Parent Family Scotland on its anniversary. I applaud its important, encouraging and inspiring work in Dundee and beyond. And I join with Karen Adam in recognising the strength and resilience of single parents across Scotland and beyond. But resilience is what you have to find when you are repeatedly assaulted. It means that you keep getting back up again and again and again. And that's what women often do, parents do, for the sake of their children, at least for as long as they can. Sometimes they don't get back up again. Sometimes the one-parent family becomes a no-parent family. So here's a suggestion. What if, for the next 80 years, we stopped attacking single mothers and their children, stopped privileging those who exploit them, stopped ignoring their needs when we develop budgets, policies and legislation? What if we made sure that they had the basic conditions to live and work and travel, to feed their children, keep them warm, keep them safe, give them what we recognise as a happy childhood? Because no one should have to be resilient all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Chapman. I now call Rona Mackay to be followed by Stephen Kerr. Ms Mackay.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleague Karen Adam for bringing this debate to the Parliament and for her customary powerful and moving opening speech, and of course to Stephanie Callaghan for her work in this field. This debate is really a celebration of the 90% of women and the 10% of men who are raising their families single-handedly, often against very challenging odds. It also celebrates One Parent Family Scotland on their 80th anniversary. What a fantastic achievement. The charity helps lone parents cope by providing essential services, including welfare rights and financial advice, which, let's face it, it can prove a minefield to the best of us. In preparing for this debate, I had a look at their excellent website and can honestly say that every piece of advice a parent could want is there, including a hotline for answers at the end of the phone and a chat line. And crucially, there's also advice if you're a student and a single parent or become pregnant while studying, because being a parent should not be a barrier to achieving a full and rewarding career. And with support and the correct advice, you can make it work. Presiding Officer, as the motion says, the charity was originally founded in the 1940s as the Scottish Council for the Unmarried Mother and Child and was established with the aim of keeping unmarried mothers and their children together. That strikes me as remarkable when we think of what we now know was happening then and in the decades to follow, babies being forcibly and cruelly removed from their unmarried mothers to be given up for adoption. So immediate respect and gratitude must go to One Parent Families Scotland for carrying out the pioneering and humanitarian work of the original founder of the charity. And I'm proud to wear this rosette tonight in acknowledgement of the amazing work that they do. So, as we've heard, the charity have offices in Glasgow, Dundee, Edinburgh, Falkirk and Lanarkshire. It employs 97 members of staff, supports over 8,000 parents, children and young people annually, and provides welfare rights and financial advice that's benefited nearly 4,000 families, resulting in financial gains for families of over 1.6 million. So that's pretty astonishing. Presiding officer, we all know parenthood can be difficult, even for couples working as a team, sharing the responsibility of the massive decisions that have to be made on a daily basis. But for single parents, that difficulty is much greater. In today's society, peer pressure among parents to provide expensive and commonplace items such as mobile phones, sports equipment and much more is intense. And I applaud the way lone parents can cope with this. We're living through a cost of living crisis, and there is a far higher likelihood that single-parent families will experience poverty compared to other households. Scotland's groundbreaking child benefit payment does help in this respect. Of course, despite significant improvements since the 1940s, gender inequality remains a major cause of discrimination against many single mothers, who are 90% of lone-parent families. The stigma which Karen Adam talked about from decades ago may have gone, but sadly discrimination does remain in certain areas of society. Presiding officer, as we've heard, single parents face unique challenges combining the roles of sole carer and provider without the ability to pool resources with another adult. So in conclusion, presiding officer, organisations such as One Parent Families Scotland are a vital lifeline, and I can't praise the work they do highly enough. And just a final word to all the lone parents out there. No one underestimates the challenges you face, but in spite of it all, you're doing great. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, Ms Mackay, and I now call Stephen Kerr. Mr Kerr.
Sir, can I first congratulate Karen Adam on bringing this motion to Parliament, and congratulate her on her speech, which was eloquent and moving. And her personal experience authenticates everything that she has said. And I wish to add my voice in tribute to the work of One Parent Families Scotland. One of the main reasons that I decided to seek election to public office in the first place was to promote my strong belief in strengthening the family as fundamental to a better society. No other issue, in my estimation, compares in importance. Strong families, in all their shapes and sizes, are the foundation unit of society. We know the costs of family breakdown are enormous, and helping families to work things through and stay together to build a better life is the starting place to improving our nation. Social skills and life lessons are best developed within a functioning family. Society benefits tangibly when things like caring, sharing and collective responsibility are learned in the safe laboratory of the home. So I believe we all owe our gratitude to those who dedicate themselves to supporting the family, and especially one-parent families, where one adult is shouldering every responsibility. And to those counsellors, social workers, mediators, grandparents who dedicate themselves to supporting marriages and family relationships when the going gets tough, I say thank you. I would suggest that every public policy and every piece of legislation should be tested against its family friendliness. Does it help or hinder parents in their responsibility? Does it make it easier or harder for families to stay together? Now, by no means exclusively, but in the main, one-parent families have a mother and not a father, as was highlighted in the previous speech. And most often it's a single woman doing the caring and the nurturing and the raising of children. And one of the crucial questions we ought to face up to in our society is, where are the fathers? Perhaps we should have a debate in this place
dedicated solely to the subject of the role of fathers in families and in the raising of children. Because too many children grow up without the good example and the parenting of a father. It is a complex issue, but fundamental to a healthy and prosperous society. A survey this week revealed that almost half of all mothers who return to work after having a baby plan to quit their jobs in the following 12 months because they are not satisfied with the support they receive when returning to work. This is a dire statistic for single mothers. Of course I will.
Bob Doris.
I apologise that I've not been present for the entire debate, President Officer. No discourtesy was intended, but I think Mr Kerr makes a really important point about where our fathers, and I just wanted to name-check Fulton McGregor and the cross-party group that he hosts, or effectively looking at positive parenting and shared parenting. There's positive role models out there for fathers, and it's not just about talking the talk as men, it's about walking the walk as well. Mr McGregor's done a real solid job in bringing that to this Parliament, I think.
Stephen Kerr.
I'm grateful to Bob Doris for that intervention and add my support of that cross-party group and the work of Fulton McGregor. If I can return to the issue of single mothers and mothers in general finding it difficult to return to the workplace. I know from experience that if you do not take the necessary steps as a business to accommodate the demands of family life, then in time you will lose the talent and goodwill that you need to build a successful business. And the same is true at the macroeconomic level, because taking care of the family makes good business sense and good economic sense. Whenever anyone or any organisation gives essential support to families, especially when they're struggling, they're providing an invaluable social good. We are fortunate to have organisations like One Parent Family Scotland contributing to the betterment of our society by supporting the family in all of its shapes and sizes, so consistently and so effectively.
Thank you, Mr Kerr. And I now call on Minister Cook-Abstewart to respond to the debate. Around 7 minutes, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I would like to thank Karen Adam for bringing this important debate to the Chamber and to all the members that have taken part. I also note the presence in the gallery and welcome one-parent families there as well. Back in September 2022, I had the pleasure of attending and speaking at One Parent Family Scotland's launch of their report, Living Without a Lifeline, in the Scottish Storytelling Centre, and it struck me then, as it does now, the importance of tackling poverty, especially on the cost of the school day and the impact that stigma can have on one-parent families in Scotland. I am therefore delighted to be here today, closing this members' debate, celebrating the 80th anniversary of One Parent Family Scotland, who have worked tirelessly to support families to achieve their potential, to reach a decent standard of living and contribute to Scottish society. As Karen Adam has highlighted, single-parent families make up a quarter of all families with children in Scotland, and one-parent families has supported thousands of parents and children over the years and continues to support thousands of families each year, making an intrinsic difference in the lives and future chances for generations of children across Scotland. The support and advice provided by their dedicated staff and the provision of strategies and tools for parents has helped to empower parents and children's resilience, confidence and academic achievement. When the charity was formed all those years ago, single parenting was a taboo subject which had damaging impacts on mother and child relationships. Thankfully, through the work of charities like One Parent Families, attitudes have changed for the better. I would therefore like to join with my colleagues Stephen Kerr, Martin Whitfield and Maggie Chapman, who paid very eloquent tributes to celebrate the strength, love and resilience of single-parent families across Scotland and the work that One Parent Families Scotland does with them. The Scottish Government wants to ensure that every child has the nurturing care they need to get the best start in life and to fulfil their potential. We want to protect parents and carers from stigma and give them the resources and the help they need where and when they need it to ensure that children have what they require for healthy development. We know parents and carers are the strongest influence on a child's life, and by helping parents, carers, families and communities build better lives for themselves and their children, we can help ensure that every child has the best start in life. Being a parent or carer is one of the most rewarding and the most important roles anyone can take on, and we recognise the challenges are even greater for single-parent families who are disproportionately impacted by issues such as poverty. There can be no acceptable number of children living in poverty in Scotland. Ending child poverty in Scotland is a national mission of the Scottish Government and the top priority of our First Minister. In our Tackling Child Poverty Delivery Plan, Best Start, Bright Futures, we identified 6 priority family types that are at the greatest risk of poverty. This includes lone parent families, of which around 90% are headed by women, and young mothers under 25. Both groups that we know are at considerable risk of poverty. We therefore recognise the critical role that advice services like One Parent Families Scotland play across Scotland's communities. Key to tackling child poverty is by helping people to understand their rights and seek solutions in a range of areas such as benefits, debt, housing and homelessness. Providing access to income maximisation, debt management and other valuable support, the One Parent Families Scotland Advice and Information Service is working with us to reduce child poverty across Scotland. And that is why we have provided over £500,000 funding this year to the service in recognition of its ambitions to improve and increase the financial well-being of single parents and their families. We are also supporting One Parent Families Scotland with core funding since 2016 through our Children, Young People and Families Early Intervention Third Sector Fund. We have been providing over £370,000 annually to support organisational costs that enable One Parent Families Scotland to continue their vital work, because we want to ensure that every child has the best possible start in life. I wanted to also pay attention to Emma Roddick, who illustrated very clearly how children can make their demands on parents, who often have to balance those demands within their means. And I'll take the opportunity to highlight the work of parent clubs, which provides supportive, tried and tested tips and advice for low-income families, helping parents with the everyday challenges and issues that they face through their website, email programme and social media channels. Ros McCall also raised the issue of single parents not being able to work, but also the need to have benefits while they're not able to access the type of work that they would need. And of course, benefits provide an important lifeline. And whilst this government does what it can, I would obviously take this opportunity to call on the UK government Government, who, in my opinion, should abolish the two-child cap limit, which only serves to push hard-pressed families further into poverty and denies parents vital financial support needed to look after their children. I would also like to comment on Rowena Mackay, who quite rightly mentioned the game-changing Scottish Child Payment and the positive impact that that has had. And I would also like to add the value of the baby box, which provides very important resources in the early stages. So the Scottish Government will continue to work with fantastic organisations like One Parent Families Scotland to support single-parent families and ensure that all children in Scotland grow up loved, safe and respected and can realise their full potential. So I finish once again by congratulating One Parent Families Scotland on their remarkable 80 years of service to single-parent families across Scotland and simply to say thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. That concludes the debate. There will be a brief pause before we move to the next.